In 1981, International Business Machines released the personal computer. It set the industry standard and gave IBM a proprietary chokehold on the commercial computing market. Three mid-level managers at Texas Instruments, including Rod Canyon, saw a specific opening. They each put in $1,000, secured venture capital, and set out to challenge IBM's market dominance. Their engineering target was precise: build a portable computer that could run IBM software flawlessly without infringing on any of IBM's 9,000 active copyrights. The primary obstacle was the Basic Input-Output System, or BIOS. This proprietary chip translated software commands into hardware actions. Copying IBM's BIOS code directly meant a massive lawsuit and immediate corporate death. Compaq spent $1 million to set up a clean room environment. On one side, engineers analyzed how IBM software reacted. On the other side, a separate team of programmers wrote new pathways to achieve the exact same behaviors. The result was the industry's first entirely original, 100% IBM-compatible BIOS. Because they built it from scratch through reverse engineering, it was legally bulletproof. By proving that an exact clone could be manufactured and defended in court, Compaq opened a legal loophole that would ultimately dismantle IBM's closed ecosystem. In November 1982, they launched the Compaq Portable PC, a 28-pound machine that ran every piece of standard IBM software. This chart tracks their extreme upward trajectory. They recorded $111.2 million in first-year sales, setting a national record, and climbed to $1 billion in revenue by 1987. IBM attempted to force the market back into submission in 1987 by introducing micro-channel architecture, a closed proprietary standard designed to render clones incompatible. Rather than comply, Compaq organized rival PC makers to back a competing open design called the ESA standard. Their massive market share gave them the leverage to neutralize IBM's push for control. Under CEO Eckhard Pfeiffer, Compaq accelerated. By 1994, they officially passed IBM to become the largest supplier of personal computing systems in the world. Compaq successfully defended the open standard and positioned themselves at the top of the hardware market. But the exact open ecosystem they championed was about to turn against them. Entering the mid-1990s, Compaq's consumer lines like the Presario were generating $500 million in sales. Under the surface, however, the structure of the PC industry was shifting. Intel, the primary supplier of microprocessors, began an aggressive campaign to market their CPUs directly to consumers, while simultaneously manufacturing their own standardized motherboards. This allowed competitors to bypass costly research and development. A computer was no longer defined by its proprietary engineering. It was simply a box housing an Intel chip. Compaq was also weighed down by its distribution model. They relied on producing massive inventories of hardware and selling them through physical retail stores. Michael Dell capitalized on this standardized hardware by adopting a direct-to-consumer, build-to-order model via the telephone and the early internet. This chart compares the resulting overhead. By bypassing retail markups and eliminating stockpiled inventory, Dell drove operating costs down to 18%, roughly half of traditional PC sellers, sparking a brutal price war. The extensive retail network Compaq spent a decade assembling to defeat IBM now acted as a heavy operational anchor, preventing them from matching their leaner competition. Instead of completely restructuring their supply chain to compete on price, Compaq executives decided to pursue the high-margin enterprise and corporate server markets. In 1997, they spent $4 billion to acquire Tandem Computers, a company specializing in fail-safe corporate servers. A year later, they escalated the strategy, paying $8.55 billion for Digital Equipment Corporation. Wall Street reacted with skepticism. Compaq was attempting to digest two massive entities simultaneously, taking on tens of thousands of consultants and attempting to merge deeply incompatible corporate cultures. Rather than fixing the core inefficiencies of their consumer PC division, they attempted to cover the losses by bolting on complex, heavily staffed enterprise operations. The friction from the mergers was immediate. In 1998, Compaq took a $3.6 billion charge against earnings related to the Digital Equipment Corporation acquisition and began widespread employee layoffs. Throughout 1999, the company failed to capitalize on the Y2K corporate spending surge. average unit prices dropped 16%, and CEO Eckhard Pfeiffer resigned. Michael Capellas took over the leadership role, inheriting an organization struggling with internal integration, just as the broader economy turned hostile. When the dot-com bubble burst, the market was suddenly flooded with cheap, liquidated computing equipment from failed startups, bringing Compaq's enterprise sales to a halt. By 2001, Dell officially surpassed them as the industry leader in PC sales. Compaq's stock price collapsed to a quarter of its value prior to the DEC merger. Unable to survive independently, Compaq agreed to a $21 billion acquisition by Hewlett-Packard in 2002. HP maintained the brand for a few years before abandoning the name entirely. They applied precise engineering to democratize the personal computer and break a monopoly. In the end, they were outmaneuvered by the very system of standardized, commoditized hardware they helped create.